Okay, well, I'm honored to introduce Richard Robbins here to the summit. I've known Richard a little bit now. I saw him speak about a year and a half ago, so I'm really excited that he's here today. Thanks a lot, Richard.
It is my pleasure, Mario. I'm really excited and honored to be here.
Well, that's great. That's great. You know, it's a lot of fun. Technology is great. We could talk back and forth, and you're in Canada, and I'm in Colorado, and it's like we're just talking on the telephone.
Yeah, it really is. It really is amazing. We're living in a whole new world. It's a beautiful place.
Well, that's good. So, like I talked about before, it's like we're having a cup of coffee, and I'm a realtor, and I'm asking you, Richard, can you give me 3 tips on how to help my business? So I'll let you go with your first tip.
Okay. Well, the first one, obviously, we've been doing this a long time, and we've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of agents in terms of one-on-one coaching. And so what we've been trying to do is develop systems, because it's great to have an idea, but I always say what you want to have behind the idea is you want to have the system and how to run that. So the first thing I want to talk about is referrals. Now, what's interesting is we know as realtors that really, if you think about it, our business should be built on repeat and referral business. Now, whether they're a new agent or an experienced agent, the number one reason that a real estate agent will fail or not succeed at the level they desire is basically their inability to generate new leads. So you look at that and you say, well, if that is the number one reason that most agents fail or are not succeeding at the level, you say, well, where do we get our leads? Well, there's only 2 groups of people in the world, and I'm just trying to make this simple for everybody so they can really see it, is the first group of people are people we know, and the second group of people, I know this is rocket science stuff, but the second group of people are people we don't know. And I look at real estate and I say, obviously, it has been said and studied that it takes 5 times less money, energy, and time to develop or maintain relationships with the people we don't know than it does to develop and maintain relationships with the people that we don't know. I think I might have said that wrong, but with the people that we know. So it takes more time. So we should always start there. However, a lot of agents I speak to, they'll say to me, well, Rich, I'm getting all kinds of repeat and referral business now. And I say, I accept that. I'm sure you're right. But let me ask you this. Could you possibly double it? And that's when they start to smile, and that's when their eyes start to open, because they'll say, well, most of my business has come from repeat and refer right now, so I'm doing a really good job. I go, but is there a possibility you could double it? Oh, yeah, I guess there is. And then my question is, well, how would you do that? And that's what they're looking for from me. So what I want to do, I want to talk about how to double your referral business. So that's, I think, the first slide that we can show them. But then what I want to do is I would now like to share with you, if I could, not only how we can double it, but I want to share the actual results of people we've worked with. So as we start to move forward in the slides, I'm going to show you a gentleman, and his name is Keith Roy. Now, Keith Roy has been one of our coaching clients for many, many years, and he has developed the lifetime referral system as good as anybody else in our program. So as we start to move forward, I want to show you some of his numbers. So if you look at his numbers in 2012, you can see that Keith had 150 people in his database. So what is a database? It's obviously your CRM, and these are people that Keith knows by first name. Now, all the people that are watching this, you might know 30 people by first name, or 50, or 100, or 120, or 200, or 1,500. But they say that the average person that has lived in a community for about 7 years knows 120 people by first name, but do they have an organized way of bringing value to them? And then, of course, they're giving you referrals back. So Keith's got 150 people that he knows. And what he did was he implemented the system that I'm going to share with you, and he got 30 ends. Well, that means that he got 20% of 150 people that turned into transactions. Now, let me clarify that. That doesn't mean that 30 of the 150, it means that somehow, some way, the 150 people, okay, created 30 transactions. So that could be One of the 150 listed with him and he sold it. One of the 150 referred their brother to him who bought a house. One of the 150 listed, maybe he sold it, double-ended it, plus sold them a house. It just means 150 people were responsible for 30 transactions, but it turns out that it's representative of 20% of the people in his database. That was 2012. So let's move forward to 2013, and you'll see that Keith now has grown his database from 150 people to 180 people, and he got 40 transactions. Now what's interesting is he got a 22% return. So he went from 20% to 22%. So it went up a little bit, which was great. And then as we move forward to 2014, you'll notice he had 205 people in his database. So he grew it by 25 people, 44 ends, which grew by 4 ends, and a 21% return. So here's what we have proven. We have proven by following the system that we teach, you can get between a 20 and 22% return on the amount of people that are in your database of the people that you know by first name. So how much does this cost? And then I'll take you into the system. So first of all, if you look at Keith's numbers, went from 30 transactions to 40 transactions, and of course then he went up to 44 transaction, which is on the next slide. But I think what is more important than that is we've got to say, but how much did it all cost? Now let me clarify something first of all. This isn't the total number of transactions that Keith did. So in other words, he actually did in 2014 over 70 transactions. However, 44 came from repeat and referral. So if we go to the next slide, what you'll see is that its annual budget, he spent $32,000 to generate $378,000, which are those 44 transactions, which means he had a profit of $346,000. Now, I'm going to suggest there is not a person that is watching right now, or at least I hope not, that wouldn't say, hey, I'm willing to spend $32,000 to get back $378,000. That means he spent about $155 per person in his database. Now, a lot of people look at that and say, that's a pretty significant investment, and I would agree. However, we have to spend money to make money. If you look at the real estate industry, we're really in our own business here, and sometimes we got to start to make an investment before we get a return, and that's what Keith understands. See, Keith isn't earning a living doing deals every day. He's focusing on building a business that is repeatable. So in other words, you notice when he did the same thing in 2013 and 2014, he produced the similar percentage, but actually larger results because there's more people in his database, which means his business is what every year? It's growing on a regular basis. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what are some of the things that he's doing to the database? Well, let me take you through. Now, all systems can be slightly different based on personality. Some people enjoy bringing value to the database one way. Some people enjoy bringing value to their database another. But before I take you into the system, let me set this up. Many, many years ago, my mentor, Jim Rohn, who unfortunately passed away a number of years ago, back when I was about 27 years old, I went to a seminar. And I was struggling. I was really struggling. I was actually flat broke. I was so broke that I went to the seminar in Dallas, Texas, and I couldn't afford to stay at the big Marriott hotel where the seminar was. I had to stay down the road at one of those, little motels where there's 25 locks in the back of the door, you know what I mean, and get myself a $5 or $6 cab ride down to the Marriott the next day. I went to the seminar. There was like 3,000 people sitting there, and this was really my first experience at a big seminar. And Jim Rohn, on that very first day, changed my life. And he changed my life because at 27 years old, I seemed to be very busy. And I was ambitious. I wanted to succeed, but I wouldn't say I was productive. And there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. So I wasn't making a lot of money, but I seemed to be working really hard, thinking I was doing all the right things. And Jim Rohn said this. He said, we've got 3,000 people in this room. And all of you, I'm assuming, are here because you're business people, you're salespeople, you're entrepreneurs. You're here because you want to learn how to build a larger business, which means you want to learn how to make more money, which was a pretty fair statement. And he said, understand this, that money is nothing more than an exchange of value. So the people that bring the most amount of value to the marketplace, they typically are going to make the most amount of money. Now, when he said that to me, at first I'm going, well, I don't know about this, Jim. You know what I mean? Like, I'm bringing a lot of value, man. I'm working really hard. You know, I'm up early. I'm at it. I'm getting home late, and I'm not doing so well. But then he said something a little while after that where it became clear to me what he was saying. And he said this. He said, if we would wake up every day as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, and if we would spend as much time thinking about how to deliver value as we do thinking about how to make money, we would soon find ourselves rich beyond belief. And when he said that, I got it, because I didn't wake up every day and I wasn't thinking about how can I bring value, how can I bring value, how can I bring value. I was waking up every day thinking, how can I do another deal? How can I sell another house, right? You know, how can I keep earning a living? How can I figure out how to make my mortgage payment, you know, my car payment? And how can I figure out how I can go away on a holiday in a few months? That's what I was thinking about, right? It was very self-centered. Not only is anything wrong with that, I think that's normal. Like self-preservation is obviously a good thing. But when I got thinking about that, I thought there's got to be a better way. So I'm going to figure out how to bring more value to the marketplace. So then I started studying, and I looked at this database of people that I had at the time, which was just over 100 people. And I thought, how do I bring value to them? And if I bring value to them, I wonder if they'll bring value back to me. And the more I studied, here's what I discovered. The average person that owns a house knows 3 to 5 people that will buy and sell every year. Now think about that number for a minute. That sort of makes sense. Like I own a house and I probably know 3 to 5 people that move in the course of a year, right? And then think about this. Most of the time, if somebody's looking for a real estate agent and they don't have one, it's said that about 80% of the time they'll get one through some form of what? Some form of referral. So if I'm sitting with a database of 100 people, that means those 100 people that I know 300 to 500 people that are going to buy and sell real estate every year. And for the 300 to 500 that don't have an agent, 80% of the time, they're going to get one through some personal referral. So how can I get my 100 people to tell me about the 300 to 500 people, or at least a percentage of them? Or how do I get my 100 people at least to tell the 300 to 500 or a percentage of them about me? Well, I have to stay top of mind. You know, I have to bring value. And here's an interesting study. And this, I think, came out by Inman News. And it said that 70% of home buyers and sellers forget their agent's name within 12 months. Now, I'm going, really? Are you kidding me, right? Not only that, I'm sure the people watching, you've been in a grocery store and you see one of your past clients and you probably can't remember their name, right? Because we're not staying in touch. So here's what the system looks like. Remember, you can modify this. But basically, you've got to be bringing value to your database, and I hope you're ready for this, about 36 times per year. You're probably thinking, are you kidding me, Rich? That's bugging them. It's only bugging them if you're not bringing value. There's your key word. So here's what Keith does. 12 times a year, once per month, he sends a regular mail newsletter that is addressed. Yes, snail mail, because people are opening their snail mail now because they're not getting as much, because now we're getting bombarded with what? We're getting bombarded with email. So it's personally addressed, and it has relevant information that the homeowner would be interested in. So real simple stuff, maybe how to get your yard ready in the spring, maybe what rooms can you improve and the percentage that it'll increase the value of your house. But the information has to be relevant to homeowners, not to people that are necessarily buying and selling. And it shouldn't be talking about you. It shouldn't be talking about, oh man, look how many homes I sold last month. I'm the king of the real estate industry. That's not what it's about. This is an ego play. This is how do we bring value. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's many companies that do this very well. We work with a company called Morris Marketing. You can look them up on the web. And they produce these letters that get personally addressed to go out every single month. And that's who Keith actually uses. And the other thing he does, so that sort of goes out towards the end of the month. And the other thing he does at the beginning of the month, once the board releases the real estate statistics, he actually sends out what happened in the real estate market in his market. So he'll say, in the month of whatever, in the month of January, there was 346 homes sold. There was 1,278 homes available for sale. That means roughly, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 homes sold, which means we're in a seller's market. We're not in a buyer's market, because we all know 5 to 6 months of inventory is a balanced market, right? And he'll give them some information. Now, this is done by Q or email, and this goes out early in the month right after the board releases. So you think about a regular mail at the end of the month and an email at the beginning, that's 24 communications. Then he offers his clients a free opinion of value once per month. He offers home show tickets when the home show is in town, and generally you only get charged for the home show tickets if they actually use them when they go to the home show. He has 2 to 3 client appreciations a month. He parties. He has, takes them to a baseball game. It's sort of a AAA baseball club in town. He has a pig roast at his house in the summertime. He does a little bit of a sailing trip, but he's very creative in what he likes to do. So he puts on, 2 to 3 events. He has them all on social media. So in other words, he has them as friends on Facebook, or many of them, and he responds to their posts. He's not a poster. He's a responder to posts, which is way better, right? Because that's what everybody enjoys. He sends out a holiday gift at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. He creates a trades directory. In other words, you want somebody to put a new roof in your house, paint your house, new windows, clean windows, cut grass, whatever the case is. You just go to his website, and he has all that information there. So what he's doing, he's created a system where he's constantly bringing value to these people. And all of you can get creative in how you want to do that. But the secret is you've got to be touching them about 3 times a month. And then he phones them 4 times a year, which generally is to invite them, to his client appreciation parties or offer his free opinion of value on their house, which he does in the spring. And of course, they want an opinion of value. What might be they thinking of doing? They might be thinking of selling. So he started this program, and within 18 months of a beginning, he was getting over a 20% return. Now, the secret is, first of all, you need to purge the list. So in other words, you just don't want to have it full of people you really don't know very well, So a smaller productive list is much better than a much larger unproductive list, So if you're interested in some scripts, you can always go to our website. I think Meryl's got all the information up for you, and you can download some free scripts in terms of what you would say when you would call these people, because we got all kinds of scripts there available for you if you're interested. So that's interested, I should say. So that's sort of the first one is I believe that everybody has the ability to double the referral business.
So I was just going to make a point, because a lot of people that are going to be watching this are going to be relatively new. And one of the attractions to me getting into real estate coming out of high-tech corporate sales is that I could build my own business. And when you show what Keith did from year 1, year 2, year 3, the magic is the database, the customer base gets bigger every year, and that's the snowball factor.
Right.
And that is one of the things that's really great about our business, is that as long as we stick with it and we keep in touch with our customers, every year the deals that we do, it's going to help us the next year.
Well, think about Keith. He had in 2014, which obviously that was I haven't got his 15 date numbers yet, but in 2014, he did 44 transactions, but I think he did a total of 73. So 44 came from his database, and that was with 210 people. But let's say, Mario, he gets to 500 people, which, by the way, he's already suggested is his goal. And if he's getting a 20% return on 500 people, that's 100 deals a year, which means he doesn't have to worry about open houses anymore. He doesn't have to worry about door knocking, which he's doing right now to get the rest of his deals. Because as you said, it's a business, he's growing it, and then once he gets to 500 people, he's going, okay, it's done. Right? Yeah. Now I just got to focus on my database, which is a thing of beauty, right?
Right.
Yeah. So do you want me to move on to tip number 2?
Yeah, let's go.
Yep.
I'll get your back here.
Okay, so tip number 2, if we go to the next one, how to do a minimum of 1 sale per 3 open houses. So again, it's another lead generation strategy. So again, whether it's new agents, experienced agents, obviously a lot of people do open houses. When you get a listing, let's face it, the seller quite often wants an open house. Sometimes they don't, but in a lot of cases they do. Most agents know that the house actually doesn't sell from the open house very often. It can, yes, the blind squirrel can find a nut once in a while. Yes, it happens. But I look at it and say, I would suggest that if your seller wants an open house, or if you don't have any listings and you know some agents that might allow you to do open houses on their listings, well, go there with the intention, yes, of selling the house, but also of finding really good leads. So let me show you some numbers. This is another one of our clients, and what I'm giving you facts here. This isn't, I think you should try this and it might work. These are people that are presently doing this, and that's why I keep showing you people, because there's strategies that we teach that these people have implemented. So again, we know they produce results. So Ralph Ciencio, he sees, young guy, Keith, same thing, they're both in their 30s. If you could look at his numbers in 2012, he did a total of 40 transactions, which pretty good. I think you would agree. And 25% of the 40 came from open houses. So you can see 10 of his ends came from open houses. But then if you move to 2013, he did the same amount of deals or sales, and 13 actually came from open houses. So you can see the percentage of his business, total business, is starting to go up from open houses. But then if we go to the next slide, in 2014, and I don't have his numbers for 15 yet, he did 15 sales from open houses. So you can see that his business is growing a little bit, which means he's getting better. But here's the kicker. Here's what really makes the difference. If I go back to 2012, he was doing 5 open houses, okay, roughly per sale. So it was taking him 5 open houses to get 1 sale. In 2013, his effectiveness got better, and we got him down to 3.4 open houses per sale. So you can see now he's doing, smaller amount of open houses for a deal, which means he's getting more effective at what he's doing. And that's what we're always talking about. I always say, we don't need to be busy, we need to be productive. Whatever we're doing, let's figure out how we can produce the greatest result. But then in 2015, he actually got it down to 2.4 open houses per sale. Now, I think all of you would probably agree, and I know Mara would for sure. If you can do 1 sale for every 2.4 open houses, that is unbelievable. But here's what we discovered, is 57% of the people coming to the open houses, they weren't buyers. They were what? They were sellers.
Sellers, yeah.
There's the secret. So here's what we know. We know that it's difficult to sell the actual house you're at. Now, if that happens, it's a beautiful thing, and you're always trying to do that. But a lot of those people walking in, especially the neighbors, and people go, oh, they're nosy neighbors. We got nosy neighbors. But my question to you is, maybe those nosy neighbors are thinking about what? They're thinking about selling, right? So what we want to do is we want to turn this open house into an event. Now, here's why. My theory is this. The way people see you do anything is the way they think you do everything. And what I mean by that is that if somebody's walking through your open house, is there a possibility they're maybe doing an interview on you to see if they'd be interested in using you to sell their home? Possible, right? If somebody comes through your open house, is there a possibility they're interviewing you to see if they'd like you to find them a house? That's all possible. Every time we meet somebody, okay, they could be interviewing us, or they might be interested in buying, or they might be interested in selling a house. And I say that everything we do is important. Now, how do most people plan an open house? Oh, boy, it's Wednesday. Maybe we should do one on Saturday. Okay, great. Well, where are we going to do it? Oh, here, we found this one over here. Is that a good place to do it? I don't know. It's the only one we got. Right? Oh, let's throw a couple signs up and away we go. I go, bad plan. If you're going to do one, you want to do it really effectively. So here's what Ralph's system is. First of all, he plans an open house about 10 days out. So he doesn't plan it the same week of the open house. And then what he does is he actually has a VIP sneak preview of the open house an hour before the public open house. So you can see on the screen there that this is a VIP invitation that goes out, and from 12 to 1, okay, he's going to do the VIP sneak preview, and then from 1 to 3 does a public open house. He sends out 250 of these around the open house, because remember, he planned it 10 days in advance. Then what he also does is the day of the open house, he actually goes out door knocking in the morning, and he knocks, maybe 10 doors one way, 10 doors another way, 20 doors, invites them to the open house because they're the neighbors. Maybe they're going to sell someday, and neighbors are curious. They want to know what that house looks like, right? Then what he does, he posts it on social media, right? He sometimes does some internet advertising, not as much so. He puts out a ton of signs, way in advance, by the way. He's got the sign top or open house coming up, that sort of thing. And then he puts out 12, 15 signs all over the place with the time on it, so we can put the signs out early in the morning and let everybody know this is what's going on. But then what happens from 12 to 1 All of the neighbors start to show up, 250 invitations, and he did some door knocking. Well, they start coming through, but when you show up at his open house, this is an event. I mean, this isn't just a regular open house. Let me give you a few ideas. First of all, he is Open House Manager, which is a sign-in app that he has on his iPad, okay? Then what he does, if you go to the open house, he's got music playing. He has iPads set up on the dining room table with family-friendly movies playing, like the movie Frozen was a recent movie. Because when kids come, right, as soon as they see the movie Frozen playing, where are they sitting? They're down at the dining room table. Ralph's sitting there. He said, perfect, because now the parents can walk through the house and they don't feel any pressure. The kids are having a good time at the dining room table. He asks permission. He gives the kids a bottle of water, maybe a pop. He has some snacks for the kids as long as the parents are okay with that. Because the key to an open house is to slow people down. So when people come to an open house, they want to go through really fast because they don't want to get stuck with an agent. You know what I mean? Oh, you're going to get me, and then you're going to phone me for every day for the next 24 years. Like that's going on in their mind. But so what you could do is slow them down. So they show up, and then he's got gift bags sitting on the table, which, of course, they end up getting. Everybody gets a bag when they leave. Depending on the time of day, he has wine, he has cheese, he has coffee, he has tea, he has refreshments, he has snacks, right? And then in the summertime, what he does, he actually has a barbecue going in the backyard. He puts hamburgers on, and he put hot dogs on. And he has told me stories that the neighbors have showed up at 12 o'clock. The preview's done at 1. They're still there at 3 o'clock after the public open house, standing in the backyard when the owners come home because they all know each other. He said, it's amazing. He was like, it turns into an event, little parties. Then they go through the public open house. He's got all of the information on the neighborhood there. He almost always has himself and another agent with them so he can handle the flow of traffic, right? But then to get them to sign into the open house app, he has Open House Manager, which they sign in. And the reason they sign in is because he offers a draw. So I'm going to have a draw for a few bottles of wine, maybe some, tickets to the show or whatever the case is. So everybody signs in because there's a draw. And he said, depending on how many people come through, maybe everybody will win. And I'll go around and drop off the gift, right? And then, of course, he does his regular follow-up after by sending them an email, and then he makes a phone call thanking them for coming, and he does that follow-up. Now, if you went to an open house like that, I think all the refreshments there. He's got all the neighborhood information out, information on the schools, right? Information on the bus systems, information on shopping. And he's got the survey. It's an event. He turns it into like a real open house because he spends some time getting ready. If you were thinking about selling, do you think you might call Ralph and invite him in? And I think you would. So it comes back, before I moved on to the third point, it comes back to this. Jim Rohn said if we wake up and spend as much time thinking about how to deliver value as we do thinking about how to make money, we'd soon find ourselves rich beyond belief. Well, Keith Roy, if you think about it, he's taken a database of people and he's committed to delivering value before he expects anything in return, but he gets a lot in return, obviously. Ralph has just taken the concept of an open house and he's done exactly the same thing. Now, Ralph obviously has his database, and just so you know, in 2015, it looks like he's going to do over 100 transactions. So he's growing from 2012, 40, 3-4 years later, he's up to over 100 transactions. So his database is growing, open house is growing, he's got some other strategies as well, but everything that he does is focused on how to deliver value. So before I move on to the third strategy, Mario, any questions at all for me?
No, I don't think so. I think, we all do open houses, and the way you talk about it is that a lot of us as agents, we get lazy, and we just kind of make it a matter-of-fact open house. We do it the last minute. And I think your strategy and what Ralph is doing to make it an event, make it memorable, and then people are going to remember Ralph. So I think that's a really good idea.
It's all based, the theory's all based. We talked about this back when I think I did a podcast with you, but I wrote a book called Deliver the Unexpected. And that was a concept in the book was we all have this amazing opportunity to deliver the unexpected. So people will say to me, what's the best way to generate leads? I say they all work. Every one of them will work. But what happens is we do a little bit of them all instead of grab a few and own them. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do an open house, grab that strategy and own it. If you're going to really work your database, which you should probably do both, but grab that strategy and own it. And I had an interesting experience just last week. I was on the road traveling last week and I was speaking. And I'm on the road pretty close to 100 days a year, sometimes a little bit more than that. So I eat breakfast in restaurants a lot. And I'll tell you, to impress me at breakfast, when I spend that much time in restaurants, it's got to be, something big, right? And his name was Jesse. I remember his name. And he impressed me. And here's what he did. And it's a theory that we can take to this business. So I'm sitting down, and I look like a bum. I got a baseball cap on, and I got my track stuff on. It's early in the morning. I'm going to have breakfast. I'm going to go up and have a shower and get ready, all that sort of thing. So it wasn't like I was dressed up like I'm some VIP. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there. It gives me the menu, the regular stuff. He comes over and takes my order. And he looks at me and he said, "Sir, I can see you're sitting here by yourself today." He said, "Would you like to just sit quietly and enjoy your thoughts, or would you like a newspaper?" I said, "Oh, yes, I'd like a newspaper." So he said, "We've got the Globe and Mail here. We got the Wall Street Journal. Which one you like?" I says, "Well, I'll take the Globe and Mail. That'd be great." So he grabs me a copy of the Globe. So he leaves. He brings over my breakfast, and he said, "I've always found it interesting, sir, but what you ordered, for some reason, it doesn't come with toast. But I really think it should. Would you like me to get you some toast?" I says, "Well, just get me one piece. Bring me two and I'll eat them both. Bring me one, I'm only eating one, right?" So he's laughing a bit. So he brings me, one piece of toast. Well, then at the end, and I wasn't drinking coffee, so usually they offer you don't want a coffee to go or something like that, but he noticed I wasn't drinking coffee, so he brings my bill, but he also brings me a bottle of water. And he said, "Here's a bottle of water for you to take as you leave." And he said, "I want you to have a really wonderful day today, and thank you for letting me serve you." Now I got the bill. So, of course, I'm looking at the tip. What do you think happens to that tip, right? Like, I'm sitting there, I go, boy, this guy was really good. And, of course, I tipped him really well. Now, this was a Westin hotel. So because he was delivering the unexpected, and there was 3 things he did that just took it to a new level. You know what I'm saying? And it was so simple. It's like MasterCard commercial, right? What does it cost? What is it worth? What does it cost? What is it worth? So he strengthened the brand for Westin. I'd go back to that hotel in a heartbeat, and he got himself a nice tip. He brought value, and because he brought value, right, it increases his income. It's like that simple to some degree, but we don't spend enough time, right, focusing on how can we deliver value and do a better job at everything we do, and then watch the results start to come in.
Yeah, then the other thing is you're telling his story about what happened.
Right.
So if I had been your realtor and I had delivered the unexpected and I really helped you and you were, amazed by what I did, then you would share that story with your other friends, and that's how we get more business that way too.
I always say that, imagine if you're showing property, and if you show property in such a fashion that when you're finished and those people you were showing property to were to meet their friends for lunch, the experience was so extraordinary, they want to tell their friends about it. That's what we should always be trying to do. That's delivering the unexpected. Whether it's, the car you pick them up in, if you're doing that, right? Or offer them snacks, or, the way you help them eliminate properties because you got to help them make a decision. All of the, we'll get into that here, but all of those little ideas that they finish, oh, that was really cool. You had iPads for the kids maybe to watch something in the backseat of the car. I don't know, but we can get that creative if we want to.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So let's move on to the third tip. And this is sort of a biggie. It won't take me much time to talk about it, but I always say that if you look at top producers, you say, where do top producers spend 80% of their time? And we have the good fortune of working with many multi-million-dollar producers. We coach them. I understand their business. I know what their schedule like. I get them to do time awareness exercises, and they write down where they are, every hour, and then they send it in and we review it. So I've got a very good idea where they spend their time. And I believe that top producers, there's 3 areas that they're spending 80% of their time in. Now, the first, really simple, is lead generation. So the first thing we've got to do is try to separate this whole concept of busyness from productivity. And I do believe today that people are addicted to busyness. There's just so much going on in our worlds, and we've got these phones right here that are always going off, and we got access to social media and everything else. So the first place I say to everybody is take a schedule and, from Monday to Friday, and block off at least 60% of your time and spend 60% in these three activities. So the first would be a form of lead generation. The second would be face-to-face, because if you're doing lead generation, the purpose of you doing lead generation is to get face-to-face, nose-to-nose, belly-to-belly, eye-to-eye, whatever you want to call it. Now, who could you get face-to-face with? You could get face-to-face with showing somebody a house, meeting with a new buyer, pricing a house, CMA, doing a listing presentation, or meeting with a seller and talking about adjusting their price because maybe they're a little off. So there's 5 major opportunities for you to get face-to-face. And then once you get face-to-face, the third thing you're going to do is negotiate. So you're going to negotiate a listing presentation, buyer agency agreement, maybe an offer or contract, whatever the case is. But whenever you get face-to-face, really your job then is to negotiate. So what I say to people that maybe aren't producing at the level they want, that you need to start tracking what it is you do all day. And here's what my suggestion is. It's really simple. It'll be very enlightening and probably a little painful when you read it, but literally take your phone and set an alarm for an hour. And then once it goes off, sit down with a yellow notepad, whatever, just write down what did you do for the last hour. And then what I want you to do is set the alarm an hour later, write down what you did, write down what you did, write down what you did, write down what you did. Because we've got to be consciously aware of what we're doing, because we all got the same 24 hours in each day. And then at the end of the day, look at that and say, what percentage of my time did I spend in some form of lead gen, right? Whether it's at an open house, calling people back, whatever the case is, face-to-face appointments and negotiation. And if it's less than 60%, I guarantee you, you're highly unproductive. And I would suggest that most agents, based on our studies, the 80-20 rule applies the opposite. It's not 80% of their time in those 3 areas. It's 20% of the time in those 3 areas. So then if you do that for a week, then you say to yourself, now I got to change that. So what I've got to do is I've got to be proactive and say, okay, I'm going to spend X number of hours talking to people, generating business every day until I start to get more face-to-face, until I have more negotiations, and become more proactive with your time rather than reactive with your time. Because, Mary, I know you'll agree with this, is this business can eat us up. This business can cause us to be really, really busy. But I know a lot of really busy agents that are almost broke.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, you're just kind of busy for the sake of being busy. And it's, my experience, and I know you know it too, it's all based on results.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get people in the pipeline. You got to be talking to people. And you got to have things happening. So I think that's good. And, the 80-20 rule, focusing on what you're actually doing day to day.
Mm-hmm.
The other trap that we fall into is, we all know it. You get on your computer and, you get on social media, you get on email, and then boom, an hour, 2 hours goes by. You're on Twitter, you're on Pinterest, whatever it is. We got to get away from that. And we got to focus on our work. Yeah. Because we manage ourselves.
Yes. That's one of the, I always say the great thing about real estate, there's no accountability. The worst thing about real estate, there's no accountability. So a lot of people get in the industry because, this is great. I'm going to get in real estate and I'm going to do well. And, I don't have to report to anybody. I can work my own schedule. And I say, that's exactly why they're gone in about 8 or 9 months sometimes. I find when people do this time awareness exercise that I just mentioned, I think they'll find one of two things. One is they are busy, like social media, and they think they're busy doing real estate stuff, but it's busyness. Right? It's not producing results. Or the second, they're going to see that they don't work that much, because we've done it with some of our clients, and they go, okay, yeah, I get up and I finally got to my desk at 10 o'clock. I did email for an hour, and then I had to meet my friend or pick up my dry cleaning, and then I did this, so I had to get groceries and everything else. We've had people that have sent it in, and I look at it and I go, are you kidding me? You're only working 90 minutes a day. No wonder you're not making any money. Yeah, you seem to be getting a lot of stuff done, but it's got nothing to do with generating income. So we find it's one of two ways. They're trying really hard, but they're doing all the wrong things in work. They're going to useless meetings, and, they're inspecting homes that, they shouldn't, whatever it is, but it's easy to be busy. Or the other is when they really look at it, they realize, they go, boy, I'm only working about 62 minutes a day. Well, guess what? 62 minutes a day in any business, we're not going to do so well, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really good, Richard. I mean, I really, the tips you went through, very, very helpful. And again, I want to thank you for being here. So I do have a bonus question. So it's really easy. So here it is. It's the middle of January 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to look back at 2015 because I think it's helpful for all of us to identify, what we did well the previous year. So give me like an achievement, a goal, something that you did, either personal or business that you kind of, yeah, I did it, and something that you're proud of.
Beautiful question. Well, I can tell you for personal, I know what it was. My wife and I, we went to Italy, and we were gone for 2 weeks, and it was just the two of us, no kids. And that was, we both agreed, the greatest trip of our life because it was very romantic. We got to spend a few days in Rome, 4 days in Rome, I think. We're down at the Amalfi Coast for 8 days or 9 days, and then back up to Rome. And it was, and it's hard for both of us because my wife works with me. I sort of develop the content and do the speaking, and she sort of runs the company. So for us to get away. So I'd say on a personal level, that was the biggie. And it was, and not that we don't go on holidays. We do go on holidays, but not when we disconnect for 2 full weeks, completely. So if I looked at any achievement that happened for me in 2015 on a personal level, it would be that. In terms of professional level, it would be the launch of RI on Demand, like our new training program, because that was a 18-month project, right? So before that, it was a book, which was, a few years. And then the RI on Demand's the next big project. And they're fun. I love projects. I always say to people, it's nice if you can pick a project a year, right, and work on something. So that would be my long answer to your short question.
No, that's good. That's good. I think it's important for us to look back and be proud of what we did and what we accomplished. And I mentioned this in the podcast, but I did read your book. I'll put the link here in the on your speaker page, and Deliver the Unexpected. I really loved it. I read it 2 times, and I like it because it's not in your face. It's not lecturing. You kind of can read it, and you can think about it, and it's the kind of book that when you read it at different stages, different times of your career, you're going to get, different, takeaways from it. So I hope you stick with that because you mentioned you're going to work on your next book, so I look forward to your next book.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. That was it was the most difficult thing I've ever done, and I hear that from people all the time. And I'm going, oh yeah, it's just writing a book. How bad can it be? You know what I mean? And if you notice, I had big print, so it wasn't really a long book or anything, but it was a difficult project because the problem with something like that is it's never done. You can keep going. You can say, well, I could fix that and fix that, that sort of thing. But it was rewarding. It was fun, and I'm very, very pleased with the outcome of it. So
you got your new one on the way? Have you started writing your second book?
I haven't started. I got a working title for it, but I don't know if it'll be the title. But I've got it sort of the points laid out because I'm always sort of working on it, right? It's one of those things that you're learning. And, I always say books are the coolest thing in the world because I do a lot of reading because it's somebody takes 20 or 30 years to learn what they put in a couple hundred pages. You're going, how cool is that? And I can read a few hundred pages and I can learn what it took somebody, blood, sweat, and tears, right, to learn over so many years. So I want to take sort of the whole Deliver the Unexpected, and I know it's written in a story of fable, and, some people like that, some people don't like that, but I personally like reading them. I like the drama of it. I like learning about the characters, and I love the life lessons that sit in there as well. So I've got a pretty good idea of how I want the second one to unfold. Be different characters because somebody asked me if 2 of the characters in Deliver the Unexpected were going to get married in the next one. And that's not going to happen.
See, now you got a future as a fiction writer, too.
Remember Amy and Josh. Everybody's going, well, Amy and Josh going to get married?
Yeah. So you could be a romance writer, too, now.
That's right. That would be by default. That would be my plan.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate you being here. You're very generous to help everybody out. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mario. Thanks for having me, my friend.